What's good, Denver? It's Shelly Martinez, your host of Chopping It Up with Shelly at Hollywood Barbershop.
This is the barbershop. Barbershop. This is the barbershop. The place where a black man means something. Just leaving the mother, one of the victims of a shooting over the weekend. I mean, when are y'all gonna get tired of this? You know what I'm saying? Because y'all burning us out.
If anybody that ain't talking about it, ain't being about it, stop talking about it. If you're gonna get out here and join us in this fucked up shit, please come on. We love you. We need every boot, every toe, every finger on the ground right now.
All right.
This shit is bad. Y'all talking about it.
As y'all hear, it's time not to just talk about it, but to be about it. It's all hands on deck, and we are dealing with a war out here. You know what I'm saying? We are dealing with a war out here, a war against our kids, and we losing our kids day by day. And I mean, we can't be everywhere at every time. You know what I'm saying? So if we out here together, you know, just makes us a better unit. And we shouldn't have to be doing this, man. Like, there's no reason we should have to go here, give flowers to a mother who's lost her son. Like, we all tired of this. You know what I'm saying? We all tired of this. And you got three people. You got J5, you got Coach, and you got me. And we got a gang of places to visit and people to see today. So we need y'all. All right.
What's good, Denver? It's Chopping Up with Shelly over here at Hollywood's Barbershop. I have Jason McBride with me here today. He is the founder of McBride Impact. What is that? Why don't you tell me about yourself and what exactly your mission is out here in Denver?
Well, like you said, I am the founder of McBride Impact, and we are a 501(c) organization set up on, we call them the 4 E's: equity, education, employment, and equality, right? And we're set up for young black and brown youth, mainly, with a number of programs in the community, everything from educational to, you know, fun stuff. We want to kind of fill in those kind of gaps, and I do a lot of work in the community. You know, we do backpack drives and turkey drives, toy drives, things like that. But I also do secondary violence prevention for an organization called Struggle Love Foundation, which was founded by Joel and Lakeisha Hodge. Been around for, you know, about 20 years. Since 2000, you know, 22 years. So they've been in the far northeast area doing great things, and they just kind of brought me in to help with secondary violence prevention and violence interruption, but also gave me the freedom to do my own programs. You know, and it's just been you know, a great partnership, and you know, that we were working with, and it's kind of saved me in this game. You know, because I was burned out, and it's just a great place to work. It's a family, kind of like a family dynamic, like we're all family. So it's definitely working out great. So.
Tell me how you got interested or got started with this whole thing. Like, this dates back to your father, is that correct?
Right. John
Okay.
McBride was, you know, and it's hard because, you know, he passed in 2018, and we founded the McBride Impact, you know, a few days after that. And, you know, it's kind of tough because being his son is, you know, everybody knows I'm his son. You know, he worked for Mayor Webb for his entire term, you know, 12 years. And he did so many things in the community down, especially in the 5 Points and for kids. So it was, I used to do, you know, I was working in radio and TV, and I worked at ESPN for 10 years. And so when I came home in 2010, my dad called me down to his house and said, I want you to be more involved in the community. And at that point, right, I didn't really even know what that meant. So, you know, I think at that point he knew he was getting sick. He actually ended up dying from Parkinson's, and I think at that point he kind of knew it. And so you know, I started playing Santa for him down on the 5 Points, and you know, as he had done for, you know, 20 years, and then my grandfather had done it, you know, before him. So it was kind of like a legacy thing, and I didn't even know it. So, you know, I started doing that, and then A couple of my buddies, we came up with Fresh 101, which is free school supplies and haircuts, and that's our backpack drive. And we started that, and that's what this is our 11th year. This will be our 11th year doing that. And then, I kind of started a media and graphic design program in schools, and it just kind of started to snowball. And
That's good.
then I got involved in, working with youth and youth violence gangs, and things like that, probably 2016. And so I've been doing that ever since, and it's been the most difficultly rewarding thing I've ever done.
What do you find that's most common in the inner city youth that you feel is really needs attention?
Oh man, that is a great question, right? Because it could be the most complex answer, but it also can be the most simple answer. Sometimes these kids just need, a positive male influence, and that doesn't have to be a father, but a coach, a barber, something like that, right? But then there's sometimes that these kids are actually, violent. Unfortunately, sometimes we need to examine the mental health of not just these kids, but our entire community, right? Because before the pandemic, we had an epidemic of youth violence. I mean, we were losing kids, but now after the pandemic, it just seems that it's gotten worse, and these kids are really showing signs of real mental deterioration, right? We have to understand that some of these kids use school as a resource, right, and are dealing with some horrific things at home, and use school as an escape, right, and use school to eat, right? So when you don't have access to that resource for 2 years, and you're kind of stuck in what you're going through, where you're going through it at, you're like a ticking time bomb. And that's crazy.
It even goes deeper than just the child, because
Yes.
a majority of I feel everyone has childhood trauma, and if you don't address that, it just is a generational type of thing that continues
Oh, of course,
on into
of
your
course,
kids. And
of course.
you raised your kids the way you were raised, and that wasn't always, we don't know if that was the best way to do that or not, but
No.
a lot of them either don't get acceptance from home, or the attention that they need, or the structure, or you name it, you know what I mean? And now we have this,
Well, the first thing, touching on what you said is the trauma that we've all been through, right? And the first thing I learned when I got into this work is that if you don't take trauma and transform it, you're going to transfer it. And so what that means to me is that, if you don't deal with what you need to deal with, you're going to project it on everything and everybody that, you love and that's around you. So you're not going to be successful at working. You're not going to have a successful relationship unless you have your partners really, in tune and understanding what's going on. A lot of different things are going to happen that's going to stop you from being as great as you could be. So you have to deal with that trauma. Secondly, in terms of kids, right? We haven't met them on their level in many, many years. Even, I say, our generation, right? Because if I take you, right, and we go in, we have a time machine, right? And we go back to that first one-room schoolhouse, back there at Little House on the Prairie days. What are we going to see? I'm going to take you in there, we're going to see a teacher, a blackboard, and rows of students. Now, if I take you across the street to East High School, we're going to see the same thing, a teacher, a blackboard, and rows of students. But we all know, especially in 2022, kids learn differently. And why do we know that? Because they all have these. They all have microcomputers in their pocket, and have for many years, right? So we have to teach kids the way they learn. And that's what technology, and unfortunately, in the schools that we have in our community, we're way behind what these kids need.
So when you get these groups of kids come, are they coming to you? Are you recruiting them, or what are you doing? What is the plan?
We have different
To get them
we have
involved.
different means
Okay.
to get kids involved. We're in 9 different schools around the city, so we get kids like that. We have referrals inside the schools. Teachers, principals, counselors, deans, have a list of kids that they may be concerned with, and we go in there contracted to do a class, a mentor and leadership class. Sometimes we do mental wellness through music. We call it music therapy, music wellness, all kinds of different things. So that's one avenue. Another avenue is through the courts. Sometimes the courts refer us kids.
Okay.
probation, things like that. We get kids and parents.
Well, and how do you, and that's good that you get the parents involved.
Well, sometimes the parents are at their wits' end,
Sure.
right? And they need help, dealing with the young person. But the parents end up needing help also, because a lot of the things that kids are going through are kind of mirroring what they're happening at home.
Exactly.
So, some of these behaviors that these kids are exhibiting, they've learned from mom and dad or whoever's taking care of them. So, getting them to understand that, right? Because we can preach to a kid for 8 hours a day if we have them for 8 hours, but when they get home into that environment, everything or half of what we say is going to go right out, in one ear right out the other. So, and then you have to start again the next day. So, we have to get mental health to all of us, and we have to normalize that. And I think if we start to do that and make it okay not to be okay, because that's exactly what it is. And when I see a therapist, I have have a job
think that's
that,
amazing.
yeah. I mean, this is Thursday, and normally I'd be at acupuncture right now, and I get it's called Acu Detox. We do it. It's a free thing that we do. I get 5 needles in each ear. It's aromatherapy. It's all kinds of different things, and you can just relax there. So we offer those kind of different things. We have Wellness Winnie, which is an RV that comes and sets up in our parking lot a couple days a week, and people, it's free. People can go in and access all the resources that they have. They have rental assistance and phone bill assistance, and also can refer you to therapists and things like that. So we try to do as much as we can in terms of normalizing mental health. But the main example is that we go through it and use it. So we kind of show people, like, look, I can refer you to these things, but I'm actually going through it with you. And I think that makes it a little easier for some people.
How do we get the youth to see past their environment? And I mean, because, look, if let's just be quite honest, and gangs are pretty, pretty popular out there,
Right.
and if they're not getting, call it that family or whatever at home, they may look to the streets for it,
Well, you said something, and I want to touch it. You said generational, right? So we've had gangs in the city for a long time in some neighborhoods, right? So now gangs are more generational. When I say it's a normal thing, because granddad was in this gang, son's in this gang, now grandson's in the same gang, and it's kind of like a rite of passage in some neighborhoods that you get involved with this. You don't necessarily have to stay involved. You can go on and do other things, but you kind of protect the hood, and it's kind of that kind of thing. It's weird because I don't feel like locking kids up is necessarily the answer all the time, right? But sometimes these kids are doing some things that they have to sit down for a little while.
And it's so sad, and because, I mean, they have so much potential, but they don't see it within themselves.
Well, you just said it. You was like, we got to get these kids away from, right? And some of these kids have never been out of their neighborhoods, and so they know nothing but what they see in their neighborhoods. And so I think, just to touch on another thing you said, we're feeding these kids a steady diet of violence. Everything they take in, everything they listen to, everything they watch in movies, everything they read. You know what I'm saying? And then also the things that they're going through at home, right? If it's domestic, if there are shootings in their community. I mean, these are violent images, and so when these kids act those things out, we're like, why are these kids so violent? Well, it's everything that we're letting them and allowing them to have. And we have to start being accountable, right? We have to start as parents and school administrators and mentors and people who are have these kids trust and love and confidence. We have to be better, and we have to steer them in the direction that they need to go, because all of these kids necessarily don't have that.
And they're getting conditioned.
Oh,
By all of the violent stuff that they're,
Oh, yeah.
they're not in, nothing shocks them.
No, it's normalized.
Yeah.
And it's sad, because like we were talking about, I deal with this. So the 2 youth that were, killed, in Peoria 2 weeks ago, and the gun back and forth. The schools I've worked for, their friends all go to those schools, and I had to watch the sadness of some of those kids. And it was so tough last week going through that, because, you're talking to these kids and you're trying to get that out of them, right? But you almost don't want it, because as a person in this position, you take all of that in. Like, you pray to God, right? And say, hey, please let me take this off these young person, their heart, because, you look at them and they don't know how to deal with it, right? They're so hurt, and Like it really, it was hard for me last week. I had a hard week last week because I absorbed all of that in, and I took it in, and just being able to talk to, you know, Jackie, who's one of the therapists there from MACD, you know, just being able to just let her just have that, right, and get it off me, because in this game I've lost 12 kids, right, and it's not the easiest thing to do, and I take it. It's my fault, right? We're in a collaboration with a lot of different groups. So GRID, GRASP, different organizations around the city that do the same thing we do. And we had this meeting, and one of the guys came, and it was last Wednesday actually. And he came and he's like, you know, I was at, you know, one of the youth facilities. I think he said Mountain View, which is in Lakewood. It's like I was at one of the youth facilities, and you know, all the kids were talking about you. And I was just like, it's like, man, they love you. And at first I was like, that's cool, kind of, right?
It's a heavy burden, though.
But then as I thought about it, it's like, where did I fail these kids that they're locked up, right? Where could I have been better communicating what's going on and what they can be, that they don't make the decisions and choices that they did to get them locked up, right? So I took that in too. And so, you know, part of, you know, what I discussed with them was like, I don't really feel good about that. And they was like, well, no, that's cool, because most of them said, if we were to listen to what you were saying, we wouldn't be here. And it made me feel a little bit better, but then I still think, like, how can we get to those ones that buy into what I'm saying, but still have to make those choices, or still decide to make those choices? So it's a tough thing, because you take it. And, you know, my motto, you know, was I give 100% of myself to 100% of my kids 100% of the time. And I was in ICU for 6 days with that mentality. It almost killed me. And so I was, you know, severely dehydrated, severely exhausted. I was not making any phosphorus. You know, your pancreas makes phosphorus, and that controls your heartbeat. So when I walked into the hospital, my phosphorus level was 0.1. It's supposed to be 3.5. And so the doctor was like, you're going to be here for a while. And he was like, you know, so I thought I was going into a regular room. I was in ICU right off top. And so I stayed there for 6 days. And that was last year. So it was hard, and I had a real, you know, as they say, come to Jesus moment.
Sure.
And I had to, you know, I talked to some people. You know, I talked to Brother Jeff, who I hold as a mentor. I talked to some other people, and you know, they said, hey man, you gotta slow down, because we need you to continue to do what you're doing. And that's hard for me, because I feel like I have to do stuff. I have to keep moving, and that's what put me down. And so I get out of the ICU and I go back to work the same day. The same day that I walked out of the ICU, I started delivering food. We were doing that at the Struggle of Love in the pandemic. And so, you know, and we're going through that now. At the Struggle of Love, we're shorthanded, and we're in a lot of schools, and it's a crisis. It's a war out there, and we're having to find time to give ourselves time. And so, you know, self-care is everything, and self-love is everything, and I'm still working on that myself, because I feel like I have to be there for everybody at all times.
But you can't self-deplete.
No, yeah, you know, that's what it is. But you know, you find different ways to get that motivation in, or to fill that cup up, right? Like I was going through it. Like these last few months have just been tough. You know, I've lost kids. You know, I lost the kid in October that I felt like that at that point I was done. Like I felt like I was out. Like, you know, this was a kid that I had been with for years. You know, I got the referral for him, and he was locked up. So I went through every step of the way for the last 3 years with this kid, you know, him being locked up, and us developing a plan when he comes out, or, you know, as he, you know, gets out to you know, what's he gonna do. You know, he graduated. He repaired the relationship with his family. He got out, you know, in you know, the first week of October of last year, and he came to see me the first 7 days he was out. 7 days after that, he got into a fight over a parking spot in an apartment complex, and was shot and killed. And I swear, like, I still to this day, I'm not over it, but that took so much out of my cells, right? And, you know, like I said earlier, I've lost 12 kids in this, not my actual kids, but I take them on as
Sure.
my kids. And that took so much out of me, I didn't think I was gonna ever get it back, right? Because through these 12 kids that I've lost, it's always been like, all right, I can get to the next one. I'll go to the next one, I'll go to the next one. And just, you know, kind of internalize it, and you just keep it pushing. And this one was, I still haven't been able to get it back. And it's been hard. But saying that there are those moments, like last night, I'll show the grand art show out in Aurora, and one of the little girls is in my program, in our program. Her name is Zoe, and I met her. She wouldn't even talk. You know, she was going through, you know, such trauma. And this was last year. She wouldn't say a word, and so, you know, and she's this incredible anime artist. Like,
Wow.
Well, I met her, she was 12. She's 13 now. But, I mean, I saw some of her drawings, and I thought it legit was a 30-year-old Asian woman. Like,
Wow.
I'll show you some of them. And, I mean, you look at these, and you're like, no. So when I watch her draw, it's like God's right hand. And so last night, she's in this art show, because her art's being displayed all these schools in Aurora. So it's big, prestigious deal. And I go see her art, and it's not anime. It's she drew an outdoor scene in one, and then she drew like the Statue of Liberty in the other. And so she stepped out of her comfort zone, right? And she's just standing there, and she's so confident, and she's beaming, and I'm holding back tears, right? Because this little girl is everything to me, right? And she's just such an unassuming, beautiful soul, right? And she deserves every accolade, every kudo, every, you know, thing that she's gonna get in her life, because she deserves it, and I don't want to cry, because I will.
And that's okay.
I will, because she I love her to death, and I know what she's gone through, and like if you meet her, you'll like, I mean, it's just tough. Like, I love her to death. So I was so happy for her last night, and she's just standing there, and she's got friends, and they all just so that right there helps me, you know, it just.
It makes you solidify why you do what you
It
do.
helps me feel that cup.
There you go.
It does.
And that's why we're in this business. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
It
We're servants, and we're always in service, and
Yes.
we are here to help and to hopefully heal some people. You know, and I'm so happy. I happened to stumble across your Facebook page from one of my clients I follow. You know, we all follow everybody, but I saw that you had actually showed up to somebody had gotten shot. And
A couple days ago?
yeah.
Yeah. I was,
And so is that something that you guys do? Are you guys on
yes,
location?
we are notified. We're always notified. We get alerts. Matter of fact, I think that some of the things were beeping, you know.
Okay.
And we go to these shootings that are gang related or youth violence, and in that particular one was a young man who had turns out now committed suicide. And we were on the scene, and it's always tough. You know, it is always, it's a tough thing to deal with that kind of thing, and because you just want these young people to make it, right? And we deserve chances. You know, this country has put us behind the 8 ball so many times, and we deserve chances, and we're just, you know, throwing these kids away, and we're not understanding necessarily that our previous actions as adults, long before they were born, are right, and they're having to deal with that, and that's putting them behind. And so we need to understand that and help these kids as much as possible. And so that's my mission. That's my mission.
What? So for anybody who wants to be like a mentor, a supporter, anybody like that, how can they get involved?
Just do it, right? The stuff I do, my dad wanted me to get involved, you know, with certain things, and I could have just left it there, but there was things I saw in the community that I just wanted to change. I started an after-school program called Citywide, and because Donald Trump got elected, and he said he was cutting after-school food, and so we decided to do a after-school program where we fed the kids and mentored and tutored them. And so, you know, we got it up to 40 kids a night, and started to get secondary locations and stuff like that. So it's just about finding something that bothers you or that you can change, and doing it. If we all in our community just walked out of our houses and picked up one piece of paper, just one, all of us, how clean would our communities be, right? So it's just about doing something. Just, I decided to do something. It's just easy to do something. And I'm not saying you have to do it to the scale that I do it, because Lord knows I don't know how I do things the scale I do it.
There's special people for certain things, and you're one of those special people.
I appreciate it. So it's just about just doing something, and then going back to the village and raising these kids. When I think about the violence and the youth that I work with, and I'm mainly in the far northeast, right? Green Valley, Mount Bello. You talk about some of these like $1 million homes that are out there, these huge homes, and you don't see that there should be a problem, right? But what you have is that, as I said, this is a result of how we're living in the city, right? Because gentrification has caused prices to go sky high, right? And so parents want to get their families into safe places, so they take an extra job, they take an extra shift, right?
Less attention to the child.
So the kid is at home unsupervised, and because that community is out there, you have a lot of unsupervised kids because you have a lot of parents. See, people think it's just the parents not doing their job, but that's not always true. The parent is trying to do their job and provide a safe place, a nice place for their child, and they decide that because of that, they're going to work. Kids unsupervised, gets around other unsupervised kids, and they decide to be kids that they don't have to be, and participate in things they don't have to, and it goes astray. I've seen it so much.
So what are you going to continue? You got to continue.
Yes, I am. I mean, I see, and I'm gonna be honest, and I haven't told anybody this. Just like there's 3 or 4 close friends that I told this. So
Everybody's going to know now.
well, when Jaden,
That word is out.
the kid's name was Jaden Phillips. They died in October.
Okay.
When he died, and it was on the news, and the thing is, he came into my office and I took a picture of us, and he's this huge smile, and the post is, "This is Jaden Phillips. He did his time. He's on his way to being great," and that was my post. And so he died a week later, and like I said, I was done, but I don't think I don't know about doing anything else. Like I'm gonna start a cigar bar. Like I'm gonna do that, but I'm also gonna continue to do this. And the scary thing is that when he died, I told some of my close friends that I was gonna give this 2 more years and I was done. And then, because that was October, and as we got closer to, the new year, I was still hurt. We had lost another kid, to a sense of shooting, and that one, devastated me too. And I was like, well, and I told my friends that I had, 2 years. I was like, maybe this is my last year. Like maybe this is it. So I have since recanted that, and I'm going to continue to do this as long as God lets me. And we have a conversation, we talk, and the conversations we've had in my life, because you have to talk to God, you have to, right? Because that's, going to church is one thing and all that, but you have to sit down at night and talk to God, right? At times, because He has instructions and a path that you need you. And for me, it was, I was one of those kids. I was involved, wearing sunglasses because I was shot, right, in the eye on Christmas, and I almost died, almost killed me. But I talked to God. I've never cried about it. I've never regretted it, anything, because if it didn't happen to me, I'm probably not sitting there talking to you.
Right.
I'm dead or injured, right? And God told me, He's like, look, man, I've given you some incredible tools. You've never used them for what I need you to use them for. So I'm going to take something from you. I'm not going to take your life. I'm going to take a little bit of something from you, something you need. But I want you to use those tools in a way that I want you to use them. And ever since then, I've kind of got it together and kind of been on that path. So.
Well, thank God for that. And
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad
do.
you
I
was
think-
listening.
Well, you have to. You can't
Yeah.
go against his will. Like you
Yeah.
can't. You got to do what you got to do, and people talk about it all the time, and sometimes I wonder. Like I get so tired, and I get so frustrated, and I get sad, and it hurts, and I'm able to recoup and regroup. I wasn't for a minute for those past couple of months, but I think it was a test of my faith too, right? Like I think it was like, it's hard on you, right? This is hard, and it's gonna break you, and I wasn't gonna let it break me.
Well, I hope God continues to give you the courage and
the
any kind of
strength,
support,
right.
and strength, and the will to continue to do this, because it's definitely needed.
I appreciate it.
Definitely needed. If there's anything that I can do, Hollywoods or chopping up with Shelly, I mean, we're here.
We do a backpack drive with the kids, and so part of that is, it's Fresh 101, free school supplies and haircuts. So we work with barbershops, and some of y'all could donate haircuts.
Yeah.
5 haircuts, and we give them a card, and you can kind of punch it, the haircuts that you've done, and
Okay.
we do it from the end of July to October 1st.
Okay.
And that's because parents can't necessarily make those one-day events because they have to work, right? So we kind of go for a month and a half, 2 months, so we can accommodate everybody in the community. Like I said, we did 5,287 backpacks last year,
That's
full of
amazing.
school supplies. Yeah, it was the most we've ever done. We're at 15,000. No, actually, we're at 16,797 backpacks
Wow.
in the history of what we've done.
That's amazing.
The 10,000th backpack we gave away, which was 2 years ago, we put an iPad in it.
Oh.
iPad, yeah, we gave that kid, because it was our 10,000th backpack.
Sure.
It was, so we gave that kid a new backpack, and it was a little girl. She was 12, and her brother was with her, and he started to cry. So we gave him one too.
Well, you get one.
Right,
You get the other.
he was crying, so he was like,
Aw.
"Here you go." So
That's
it, like I said, there's definitely been moments that I can look at and say, man, like my kids are mad at me. Like they get mad because I said that's the proudest moment of my life, and they're like, "Hey, man, like
Right.
my son's an electrical engineer, right, and my daughter's a trauma nurse, and so
Wow.
right, never been in trouble, none of that." And I say, "That's some of the kids." I said, "That's the proudest I've ever been," and they look at me and like, "What do you mean?" And I don't know what to tell them because I am immensely proud of them.
Sure.
And I love them a lot, but some of these kids, to see them turn around and to be the people that I know that they can be is, my kids, I knew you was going to do that, right? I knew you wasn't going to get involved. I knew that, so I was cool. To see some of these, I had a kid, and I'll tell you this is my proudest moment. And I have a picture, and I can't even look at it because it makes me cry. But there's this kid, and everybody knows this kid, right? And me and this kid, they've done news stories on us. It's been featured. We were on the cover of the Denver Post on Christmas, I think 2 years ago. This kid's name is Sam, right? I got Sam March 28th of 2018. And he was originally from here, but they flew him to Seattle because he was getting in trouble here, and so in gangs and everything, so they moved him out, right, to Seattle, Washington, where he really got in trouble. And he was in jail for aggravated robbery and assault and was looking at 20 years
Wow.
in Seattle. He beat it, but they kicked him out. They kicked him out until he's 21. And so he gets here on that day, and I'm in his house at 9 o'clock at night. He flies in, and he opens the door. I go in. Ever since that day, we were together for every day. So he kind of started to get it, but he had pitfalls, and Sam drove me crazy. But at the end of the day, in February of 2019, he was on stage with President Obama. On stage, literally,
Wow.
where you're sitting, Sam is sitting, Obama, Sam.
Wow.
On that side of President Obama was Steph Curry. He was at an MBK, My Brother's Keeper conference in
Okay.
Oakland, California. And there was 20 kids on stage, and he was the one that was right next. So when Obama was finished speaking, he got up and he shook Sam's hand first. And there's this picture that I got of Sam, and President Obama was holding the mic, and Sam looks like a 17-year-old kid is supposed to look.
Yeah.
Right? When I got him, he looked like a hardened criminal.
Sure.
And this picture, and I just, it's just one of those moments that, and now he's working for a senator in California.
Good for him.
Oh, I mean, he is, he might watch this, but I miss him to death. Oh my God. I mean, we were together every day, like every single day for at least a year and a half. Like, I'm talking about holidays. It didn't matter. I saw Sam. I picked him up every day before I went to work at 8 o'clock. I made sure he was at school. I made sure he graduated. I mean, some of the things that, when he graduated, like, he went to an alternative school and online charter school, right? And they had a couple locations here, but they're located. Their headquarters is in Pueblo. So he graduated in Pueblo.
Oh, okay.
So I had to drive to Pueblo. Now that wouldn't really be an issue, but I host Juneteenth.
Oh,
And it was actually on Juneteenth,
okay.
his graduation. And so I'm hosting the show. And so I go to Juneteenth, and I've been hosting, this will be my 11th year. And so it's bothering me that I can't go watch this kid's graduation. So I know the graduation is at noon. 3 hours to Pueblo. So I hop in my car and I drive to Pueblo. I tell Norm and them, I was like, look, I gotta go. I'll come back and host the rest of the show when I get back. So I go, I drive to Pueblo, 3-hour drive. I barely make it. They're starting to introduce kids. I walk into the auditorium. They call his name. He comes to get his diploma. He comes out with his family. I shake everybody's hand, and I have to go back. I can't stay. I have to go back because it's a 3-hour drive.
Sure.
And it's 12 o'clock, so by the time I get back, it'll be 3.
Sure.
And so I do it just because he would have forgave me, but I know it would have bothered him that I wouldn't have his
That's a
graduation.
once in a lifetime opportunity.
Right, and I had to fulfill that obligation. I promised him when I got him, I was like, if you graduate, I'll get you an iPhone and I'll pay for a tattoo.
Okay.
And I did. He's still on my plan.
Yeah.
Even though he has a great job in California, he's still on my plan. He doesn't pay his phone bill all the time, but I don't even mind it.
Yeah.
It's because this is a kid. He's a kid. He's supposed to forget about that while living his life, and instead of shooting at people and robbing them and doing those kind of things. And so that is maybe the proudest moment I've ever had in my life.
That's a great story. I hope he continues to follow the right
Oh,
path.
he's a kid who's a first generation American. His dad is Eritrean, his mom's Ethiopian. So, what actually helped me to kind of turn Sam around was Nipsey Hussle,
Okay.
because he knew nothing about it, and just to show him that Nipsey Hussle was a guy who had a past, but was about the empowerment of his community, was about being a proud, because I was like, man, if I was African, I'd be so proud, and he wasn't until he had to get that spark. So, he's just an outstanding kid, and if you met him, you would be like, man, that's an outstanding kid.
That's amazing. Let me ask you a question. What does the barbershop mean to you?
Man, oh gosh, the barbershop is everything, right? It's been like everything in our community that when you needed news, when you needed help, when you needed an ear, when you needed camaraderie, when you needed anything in the community, this is the place you came, right? And it still is, right? It still is really important to us. I come to a barbershop and I don't have to, right? I'm bald anyway, so, but I go to hang out and see young people and
Find community.
right? And it's just that's what the barbershop is, and I mean it's an integral part, and it has been for decades. It really has been, and it doesn't get the credit. You guys don't get the credit that you deserve because y'all help with the community. Y'all are. We talked. You're a therapist, and you don't even know it. You're when you watch Barbershop the movie and you hear what Cedric the Entertainer said, you're a fashion expert,
Right.
All them things. That's what you are. And so
Yeah.
when he's saying that, I'm like, I identify with that, and I appreciate you, for doing what you do. It's tough.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate you, and I'm so glad I met you. And like I say, if there's anything that we can do, and if the community wants to join in, where can we find you, and how do we get involved?
McBrideImpact.org, or StruggleWithLoveFoundation.org. I represent both organizations equally. You know, we got the kids ice cream coming up, Kids Creations, which is our kid-run ice cream company. They buy it, sell it, market it, make it, produce it, package it, all of it.
Nice.
That's their company. So that's going to be starting as the weather gets warmer. We'll be doing a couple summer camps, free summer camps. So if you want your kid in summer camp, we got a 2-week summer camp for free. Go to StruggleWithLoveFoundation.org. Definitely sign your child up. Reach for Peace Parade. I think 17th, 18th annual. They're going to kill me because I don't know
okay.
for a fact. But you know, that's going to be Sunday, Father's Day. So definitely come out and support. Just love on a kid, love on somebody, love yourself.
Yes,
You know.
that's first and foremost.
Right. And if you need to talk to somebody, please do. It's okay to be not okay. It's okay not to be okay.
Mm-hmm. And for anybody who, you know, especially you guys in that, you know, you're considered youth or whatever, you know, there's resources out there to help you, you know, become your best and achieve things that you didn't think that you could achieve. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you could start living your potential right now.
Right.
You know?
There's never too late to change.
There's
Never
so
too
many
late to do
people
what you
that
want
want
to
to
do.
help you and that are here to help you. You know, all you got to do is reach out, and don't be afraid to reach out,
Please do.
because you deserve the best.
Please do.
And we're here to try to help you. I mean, this guy for sure is.
Well, whatever y'all need, you know, I'm here. Like, and the kids, and don't get me wrong, there's been kids that I couldn't reach, right? But, and then you know they're not gonna, you know, and it's like, I'm not disappointed, right? But I'm gonna be here. And so when you're ready, I'm gonna be right here. And hopefully I don't have to collect calls or any of those things, which I do. You know, my phone bill will be $1,000 every month.
One question: do you help youth step away from gangs?
That's yes.
So there's a
we give
program
them
put in
alternatives.
place?
Yeah, our mentor leadership program helps kids with those things. I mean,
Okay,
that's what we have to do, because some of these kids, like they need that structure and love that they're not getting, and they're yearning for it. And sometimes gangs are there to fill that. And so we help them understand that it's not about that. You have to know what real love is. Not
That's right.
I got love for you, or
Right.
the homies, but real actual love. So.
Right. Well, Denver, thanks for tuning in. And once again, you can find Jason here at Jason McBride Impact. And what was the other foundation?
Struggle Love Foundation.
Yeah. And you're on all social media
All
platforms?
social media is under that, under McBride Impact, all of those things. So please tap in if you need.
All right. Thanks, Denver. We'll check in.